Hi everyone, my name is Tori Carley and I'm the recycling educator with the City of Greensboro, and we have started a really cool project in here that takes plastic bags, which are not recyclable in your recycle bin at home, and turns them into something really, really cool. This is a portable sleeping surface for people experiencing homelessness in our area. It's an insulating layer from the ground that can protect from getting really, really cold and even possibly prevent hypothermia. But it's also great because it's lightweight, easy to clean, and doesn't attract bed bugs or lice. So the first part of this project, you don't actually need to know how to crochet. Making PLARN is half of the battle. And when I'm saying PLARN, I'm saying plastic bag yarn. It's just like a mashed up word. So the first thing that you'll need is either just a pair of scissors or a rotary cutter and a cutting mat. That'll make it go a lot faster. Not recommended for children. The first thing that you need to do is, your bags normally come kind of bunched up like this, and you want to flatten it out. Make sure it's right side out. And then I will normally take my finger and stick it in this little seam right here while holding on to the handle. Lay it down and it tucks it in to make a nice rectangle. Then what you'll do is roll the bag, and it doesn't matter if it's fat or skinny at this point. The important part is the width of the yarn, not the length. So now what you're gonna do is cut off the handles and cut off the scraps. What we're gonna do is cut it in quarters, and I just eyeball it. I'll cut it in half and cut each of those pieces in half. These are about 3 inches wide. And I'm actually gonna cut one more bag so that I can show you this using contrasting colors. So I'm gonna take one of my yellow and one of my gray and unfold them. You should have loops. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a T-knot. I call it a T-knot because your first step is making a T. I fed one loop inside of the other, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put one side into the other, hang on to the inside loop, pull this one straight down, and now I'm going to pull on the yellow to make a nice tight loop. So what I will normally do is I will sit and I will cut. I will cut tons of the rectangles of PLARN, and I will put them in a bag like this. And so I will go until I literally run out of plastic bags, and this will be full of those little rectangles. Once I have all of those, then I will start to make the PLARN into another bag a lot like this. So this bag is full of PLARN. And you don't want to make one bag worth of PLARN, those 4 pieces that you cut, and then start over and make another 4 pieces, because then you're gonna end up with a ton of really short pieces that you're gonna have to string together as you're crocheting. And so you'll crochet and then you'll stop and have to string, and it gets very monotonous if you do that. So instead, you just continue to add on to the project that you've already got going as far as stuffing your bag full of PLARN. And a great way to reduce the amount of time that you spend on this project is to maybe have a friend, an unsuspecting husband or child or grandchild help you make the PLARN. And so if they make an entire bag, and say you've got a whole bag full of PLARN that you've made, and you want to join both of those together, so we'll pretend for a moment that this bag is chocked full of PLARN, and I want to attach it to this bag, or if this bag was a project that I'm already started working on, we're using our imaginations a little bit here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take one, and then instead of feeding all of that through, and it takes a really long time if you have a ton of PLARN like is in here, I'm actually gonna go all the way around the bag. And then you just gently pull to make that knot. So now I've joined, this PLARN to this PLARN, and when I'm saying I'm stuffing it in a bag, I'm doing that because PLARN does not tangle like regular yarn does, and I've dealt with a lot of tangly yarn in the past. So you can literally just feed it in and stuff it in like that. Take your tail and kind of tie it on the end there, that way you don't lose it. And you can kind of put this away until you're ready to maybe start your project if you want to make more PLARN, or you have some PLARN that you're already working with. You can just save this until later. So if you want to save some time and not use scissors, a great way to do that is to use a rotary cutter and a cutting mat. And you can layer up to about 10 bags at a time when using a rotary cutter. So with this method, I don't worry about rolling. I just leave them flattened out like this. You'll want to make sure that the bottom seams are lined up. You're going to take your rotary cutter and slice off that bottom seam. Slide it over, slice off those handles. And then you're literally just going to 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now you've made a ton of PLARN and you've probably run out of plastic bags in your house and you gotta start collecting from your friends. You actually need 500 to 700 bags for this entire project for just one of these bedrolls. But you don't have to do all 500 to 700 bags and cut them up all at once to start this project, to start the crocheting process. You'll need probably a big bag to get started, and this is a Q-sized crochet hook, Q for queen, and it is 16 millimeters. There are 2 key components to this project. There are 2 tying straps to cinch down and make this project compact and easy to carry. And then there is also a carrying strap, which is essential if you're constantly on the move. Both of these are attached to the project, which is also very important. All right, to start crocheting, the first thing that you need to do is make a slip knot. And for this project, since you have a loop on the end, you can actually take your fingers like this, grab and pull through to make a loop. And you put that on your crochet hook. Now, your crochet hook is a tool, and we're going to use it as it was designed to do. So there is a pointy part to your crochet hook and a hooky part to your crochet hook. You're going to use the pointy part for going into loops, and you're going to use the hooky part for pulling a piece of yarn through a hole. All right, and we'll show that a couple of times. This project, you also want to start out and you want to relax. You want to do it very loosely. You don't want to chain too tightly, because that's the first step, is chaining. So to chain, you're going to yarn over from the back and you're going to pull the loop through. Once again, that's yarn over from the back and pull the loop through. It's also important to hold your hook correctly. There's several different ways to hold hooks, but the way that I do it is I hold it like I'm holding a knife. All right, I also will put my finger right here to kind of control where the PLARN or yarn is on my hook. And I always try to yarn over from back to front to kind of keep my space right here organized, because you'll start to have your project come out like this, and it can get a little unorganized if you're coming from other directions. So to start your project, you chain by yarning over and pulling through. Now the first couple of times you're going to have to use your fingers, and it's okay to use your fingers at the beginning to pull the loop over. But as you start to have your project come out like this, you can actually hold your yarn between your first 2 fingers and hold the project portion through your thumb and index finger. That way you can manipulate it. Now, if you notice, I am able to easily slide this. That's what you want. A lot of people will try and crank down on the project like this, and they will have a very tight stitch. That is not what you want. You will hate yourself when you're trying to do the second row if you do that. So just gotta get my slip knot back, yarn over, gonna slide this over the hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. I'm not pulling on this at all. I am manipulating this. Now, the other thing that you'll see is if you kind of lift up, you've got a small space right here where your hook can go into so that it does not accidentally hook. See how it's hooking this gray portion right here and I can't pull through? If I turn my hook and point it downwards, it'll hook the yellow portion, but not the gray. All right, so now I have about 2.5 feet worth of a chain. And this is the foundation for every crochet project. But now what we're gonna do is single crochets. And that's basically what the rest of this project is. Single crochets with a few chain stitches thrown in here and there. Make sure that you're crocheting loosely enough that you can see through your chain stitches and see a hole through them. So to start your second row, you skip this first stitch because that's your turning stitch, and you're going to go into this second hole. Now make sure you're using the pointy part of your hook. You're gonna go in, yarn over from back to front, and now you've got 2 loops on your crochet hook and your yarn over. So you're gonna pull through 1 loop, yarn over again, and pull through both of these loops. Now your knots might get in the way a little bit, but that's okay. You can compensate by using your fingers if you need to, and once you really get comfortable, you'll be able to do it without using your fingers. So once again, that single crochet stitch, you go through the hole, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. This is the hole that I was just in. This is the hole that I'm going into now. Go in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Go in, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Go in, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And before I move on, I'm going to count all of my stitches so that I have the 44 chains that I initially started with. Now, again, yours might not be 44, and that's totally fine as long as it's about 2.5 feet. So to go to your third row and every row beyond, what you're gonna do is 1 chain, and then you're gonna start to crochet under both of those V's like I talked about. Some projects will call for you to go under one of these V's or the other to give it a ribbed effect, but we want it to be sturdy, so we're gonna go under both of the V's. And I just go through, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Go through, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is the rest of the project. You're gonna continue this until you have about 6 feet worth of PLARN bedroll. So sometimes you might get PLARN that looks like this, and it's not even on both sides. Really easy to fix. You're just gonna go to one end of the knot or the other and kind of undo it, but not all the way. You just loosen it a little bit like that, and then you pull on both ends, and that gives you nice straight PLARN again. Once you have your 6 feet, and we're going to pretend that this is 6 feet, this is my base chain, my beginning of my mat, and we're going to keep crocheting until you have 6 feet. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do an edging of single crochet rows around. So you'll finish, you'll go around and down and back around again. And you're going to end up with a row of single crochets at the very end of your mat. And like I said, we're just pretending. Now what you're going to do is it's 2.5-ish feet wide. We're going to fold it in half, and that's going to make it that more compact way to carry it. And then you're going to mark the stitches that are at the 1/3 point and the 2/3 point. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. We are not rocket scientists. And I'm going to mark these. You can use a stitch marker. I used paper clips. It'll be tying strap on one side, carrying strap on the other. So now we're gonna get some new PLARN, and we're gonna do the carrying strap first. So you're gonna start out same as before. You've got your slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 50 for the carrying strap. And that is kind of long, but I chose 50 because it'll be better to have it a little bit too long as well than to have it too short. So I've made my 50 chains. I'm gonna do my 1 chain as my turning stitch for a total of 51. And then I'm going to single crochet down one side of the chain. Okay, so now I've done my first row of single crochets on my carrying strap chain. So I'm going to attach that to one of the 2 stitch markers that I have here using some slip stitches. And I'm going to go around this area to make it nice and sturdy. And I'm just going to go in and yarn over and just pull it through both of those loops for a slip stitch. You're not doing any additional yarning over. And then I'm actually gonna go down and around into the surrounding stitches to, like I said, just make it nice and sturdy. And once again, to do that slip stitch, you're just going to yarn over and you're gonna pull through both of the loops that are on your crochet hook. All right, so now I've worked my way back over to where my chain starts to come off of the mat, and you can see I've got several of those slip stitches just right around here. Again, this project needs to be functional, not perfect. Now what you're gonna do is, you see here are your single crochets. We're actually gonna flip over and we're going to use the other side of those chain stitch loops, and we're going to do more single crochets. So here's that first one. I'm gonna go in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to go up and over to the other end of this entire chain. Okay, so now I've made it to the end of my chain. It's nice and thick. It's gonna be hopefully a nice comfy carrying strap. And to attach it, I'm just gonna do the same thing that I did before, that slip stitch in, and then do the slip stitches all around the surrounding area to give it that nice, stable, sturdy, not gonna fall apart on anybody feel. And the other thing that I'm gonna do, since this is just 1 point right here, I'm gonna actually take this and make a second point so that it's 2 points of contact that are gonna make it structurally sound. And then I'm going to tie it off and weave in the ends. Awesome. All right, and there's the carrying strap. The last thing that you need to do is the tying straps, and those are gonna go in these other 2 stitch markers that you've created. Now, unlike the carrying strap, we're actually gonna start by attaching this right now. So So I'm going to attach this with a slip stitch. And now I'm going to chain enough to go all the way around my bedroll, plus about 6 or 8 inches. This can be anywhere from 40 to 50 chains, depending on how big your project is. You know, when you wrap your chain around, you also want to have an additional 6 or 8 inches worth of chain in order to make sure that you can tie it together and cinch it down really well. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna turn and single crochet right back down to the bottom. All right, so I'm at the end, and now I'm just going to again go around here, make it nice and stable, and then I'm gonna tie it off and weave in the ends. Just kind of do a little bit of knotting to make sure that everything is gonna not fray and unravel and things like that. But you can see that nice blue contrast right there. That's where I went around to make sure that this is not gonna fall apart. So now I'm gonna take this and just weave it in. I'll probably do another double knot somewhere around here. This is just kind of going around, not really any particular right or wrong way to do this. It's a good nice-on carrying strap. It'll wrap around that whole thing, and I'll still have probably about this much to play with to be able to cinch it down really well like I showed you earlier. I'm going to repeat this, and then you're going to be all done with your mat. So this is what it is when it's rolled out. It's about 2.5 by 6 feet long, which again, this project is not supposed to be exact and perfect. It's supposed to be functional. To roll it up, just kind of lay it out like this, fold it in half, and then I've got my tying straps here, and I just tie them onto themselves. And it's long enough that I can throw it over my shoulder. I actually made it longer, but cinched it down with a rubber band because I'm a small person. But the crochet pattern calls for a length that I believe is one size fits most. I tried it out on the largest guy that I could find in my office. It's pretty comfy.